How you doing? Jake here with Action for Liberty. Got my Dump Walls t-shirt on, the infamous Dump Walls t-shirt. It's only infamous, not because of me, it's because of the guy here sitting next to me, Jesse. How you doing, Jesse?
Doing good. I was gonna say, I like the shirt. Looks good.
I don't have the mega hat, though, so I don't have the whole costume. You know, it's good to see you because, honestly, it was nice having you work for us, but you're off doing a side project right now, so I don't get to see you every day. I don't get my daily dose of Jesse.
Yep, you're losing out on some conspiracy theories and whatnot, but yep, doing this project. Excited to be back here with you and chatting for the people.
Well, as they say, loyal to the foil, right?
Absolutely.
We also got Bridget in studio. How you doing, Bridget?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. You know, it's good to see you. I mean, you haven't gone off doing other crazy projects, so
Not yet.
yeah, at least you're hanging around here. All right, we got a lot to talk about. Limited time to do it. We actually were trying to go live at 11 o'clock, which then all of a sudden Facebook threw a curveball at us.
Oh, big surprise.
I know.
Facebook wants to stop us? That doesn't sound right, Jake.
This is the thing. I might go a little conspiratorial on this as well, because when something happens on Facebook, you're like, oh, man, they're coming after us. I mean, I'm very convinced they're shadow banning us. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes they're probably just innocent technical glitches, you know? I might be looking too much into it. But regardless, when it happens on Facebook, you do have to wonder. So it is what it is. I want to bring in our guest first off because we're, let's see, like 10 days out. No, not 10 days. Yeah, about 10 days out from the Minnesota primary, which is on August 9th. And our first guest is Mark Bishofsky, who is running for the Minnesota House just north of me over in Stillwater. Mark is a real patriot, but because he's a patriot, he's getting challenged by the establishment. They actually recruited the candidate who he beat like 82 to 17 or something like that at the Republican endorsing convention. So he's the endorsed Republican candidate, but he's being challenged by the establishment, and they're doing some hit pieces on him. So, Mark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me on, Jake.
Definitely. So we got to talk about this piece that I think just hit yesterday or today. This is really funny to me. You are, well, actually, I know who you are, but let the audience know who you are. Tell them your story.
So I'm a respiratory therapist, 23 years of experience. I worked through the whole pandemic. You know, I was kind of the guy that was challenging the doctors and administrators and knowing the vaccine was coming, trying to get ivermectin. You know, most people probably watching this kind of know that story to a certain degree. But when the mandate came across my desk, I was the guy that founded the organization Stop the Mandate Minnesota, and I held a lot of the big rallies at the Minnesota State Capitol, held a march there were 4,000 to 5,000 people that marched from the Capitol to the governor's mansion. I'm the guy that pulled my children out of the public school system over many of the issues. I gave up a career in healthcare that I loved in an act of non-compliance to become an activist, to try to fight for a future for my kids, that I could be comfortable with. And, that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. This last, I held my first rally in Stillwater. I think it was August 13th last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
For almost a year now, fighting for our republic, fighting for our conservative values. And like I said, just it's been a heck of a journey.
You're one of the greatest organizers I've met. I went to that rally. It was on a Sunday afternoon. It was at Ottoberg Park. And so just imagine you're outside of Stillwater, very small park, like it's on the outskirts of town, I'll put it that way. You would not think there'd be a lot of people at a place like that. So I come there on a Sunday afternoon, very low promotion. I think I found out about it word of mouth. And I couldn't park for about a half mile from where the park is. Got out, hiked back. There's, I think, 600 to 1,000 people at this event that, Mark, you put together within a week?
Yeah, it was actually 4 days. It was that Tuesday that the mandate came across my computer. I started handing out Post-its with my phone number on it because had I known how to recruit, do lists, all this, it would have been different. It would have been 3,000 people, but handed out Post-its with my phone number on it saying, text vax to this number if you want to resist these mandates. And then just like my phone blew up. That night, I think I had a couple hundred texts. The next day I went down to Regions Hospital with a handmade sign saying, if you're, against vaccine mandates, take a flyer. And so that was Wednesday, and on that Sunday we had that rally. I don't even really, I can't even recollect how it all came together like that. It was a whirlwind. I went there with my guitar amplifier and a microphone, and didn't even think I'd need that. I was expecting, I was hoping for like 100 people, and that's kind of what jettisoned me. The next week I got a website, formed got a name for the organization.
What was the organization called?
Stop the Mandate MN.
And when you're referring to mandate, what do you mean?
Vaccine mandates.
Interesting. Okay. So let's get right into the heat of this. The establishment backs your candidate, and now what they're doing... actually, let's define the establishment. Representative Kurt Dowd, the minority leader of the Republican caucus, right?
Lobbyist legislator.
Right. So he's got like this... group called the Jobs Coalition, just the swamp, basically. That's always been his ally. They're starting to do hit pieces on you. And the thing they're going after is that you're a Democrat. Now, Mark is the endorsed Republican candidate, right? Like, what makes someone a Republican? I don't know. They're the Republican endorsed candidate, right? So, and it espouses conservative values. So what they're saying is you voted in a Democrat primary. Jesse, have you ever voted in a Democrat primary?
In 2020, I voted in the Democratic primary for Tulsi Gabbard. I thought that when it's down to these options on the Democrats, at least she's the one that makes a little bit of sense. She's anti-mandate. She's on Fox News all the time. She obviously doesn't belong in the Democratic Party, so I said to myself, as a pretty independently minded person, it seems that she's this way too. She's also this way and independently minded. So, yeah, I've done it, and I don't think that doesn't make me a Republican because I'm far more conservative than a lot of the establishment. So, and Mark as well. So,
all right, I'd take issue with some of those things you said about Tulsi, but I won't get into that. The fact is, you went over to the Democrat primary because there's no presidential primary for the Republicans, right? Trump's got the nomination. So this is something that Rush Limbaugh coined. I think it was Operation Chaos. What was this, back in the Obama days or something like that?
2012, I think.
2012, yeah, there you go. Just vote in their primary and change the numbers. So Mark did the same thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was 100. So I was already fighting the pandemic was kind of, it was in Italy, Spain, in New York City in March. And I'm already just looking at the research, this thing came from a lab, I'm in the hospital talking to doctors, my 100% for Trump, there's no question in my mind. But I'm and at this time, this was never in my game plan to enter this swamp. It was never in my game plan to run for office. I never thought I'd be doing this. I didn't even think at that point that I'd become an activist. I thought I'd wait for others to hit the streets and I'd join them. So at this point, I'm just unfortunately a little cynical towards the whole, political class and landscape. And I'm just going to go out and do this, throw the numbers, whatever. I figured for sure Trump's going to win anyway. I mean, I knew he had the nomination, but I figured for sure he's going to win the general too. So it's just throw the numbers. I voted for Trump in the general 100%.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anyone's questioning the idea that you go into the Democrat primary and throw the numbers. In fact, you voted against Biden more than most Republicans, right?
Right.
Yep.
So in 2020, there was a law change, and for the first time, the major political parties could find out who is voting in their presidential primaries, because usually it's secret. I'm not sure the Republicans know who voted in the Democrat primary. I could be wrong on this, but I think it's only the party knows. So in other words, someone fed the story that Mark Bishofsky was in the Democrat primary to some numbnuts Twitter hero who tweeted it out. And so this is the hit piece on Mark. Now it gets even better, right? Pull up that image, Dawson. They actually say on the hit piece that Mark Bishofsky pushed for vaccine passports and mandates. So in other words, the guy that gave up his career as a respiratory therapist because he didn't want to get jabbed, he started this massive organization, these huge rallies against the mandate, and these liars, they'll actually go and tell voters that he was for the mandates. How does that make you feel, Mark?
It makes me feel like they're a bunch of conspiracy theorists. I mean, what do they think? I'm a paid Soros operative or something? It really, people are going to see through this. It just shows how desperate they are to keep their leadership control. And again, this is why people don't get involved with the political process, why regular people don't run for office. I knew that it was going to be dirty, but I really didn't think at the state legislator level that they would do this. I mean, it really blows my mind.
Well, I mean, it's really clear because it's coming from a Republican-aligned group that they just don't want anyone that's not going to, get in line with what they're doing, which is basically pass unconstitutional omnibus bills. In fact, it's really fascinating. The guy really behind all this stuff, Kurt Dowd, he was cutting commercials saying to go get your jab. He's the guy that's on the House floor saying, I don't wear this mask to save me, I wear it to save you. And all the Republicans in his caucus wore the mask on the House floor, except for one Republican who's not even in their caucus, Eric Mortensen. So it's so funny to me to see them going after you for this when you couldn't possibly have more credentials on the subject.
Right. I mean, I think most of the people in the district, most of these primary voters know that I was the stop the mandate, stop the lockdown, stop the passport guy. It's funny, and you want to be politically correct and not use sarcasm and be cynical and all that, but it's seriously just funny. I couldn't believe that they're running this piece.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And also, like you said, Mark, they're desperate and they're gaslighting. They're using something fake to go after you when the opposite is true. It is humorous that this is the line they're going after you with because they're showing that they don't have anything.
Yeah, Brad Ganser pipes in on Facebook, says, Republican on Republican violence is real. Now, he would know this. They went after him for let's say, a legal thing 25 years before. He was the endorsed candidate too, by the way, so he's very well aware of this. Mark, what are you hearing at the doors?
My message is very well received that I'm a political outsider. The top issues when I ask people what issues are, most important, what are affecting them, pretty much across the board, we're hearing the economy and inflation and public safety. But my message of being the endorsed candidate, 82% of the vote, that I'm here to be your voice, that I will not bow to political class, the leadership, that I want real change, that the politicians on both sides of the aisle have failed us. I mean, they just agree 100%. Nobody trusts the system anymore, and they're fed up.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening right now with these guys lashing out at you, doing these hit pieces, is it's the quintessential political class that knows they're in trouble. The electorate is changed, and they change often, and that's why we have elections. But it's changed in a really good way because usually, like this bullshit that these people do, in fact, I was just saying this the other day. It's so funny during primary season because all of a sudden everybody's a conservative, right? Doesn't matter if you vote for a bigger government all the time. You're a conservative. You just have to say it. And they know that's how the primary voters usually, what they want to see is that you're a conservative. In this election cycle, it's like people are done with the bullshit. They're like, no, if you're part of the political class, we don't want you. And I think, Mark, you're a breath of fresh air.
I hope so. Yeah, and another thing I think that comes across, I got this yesterday a lot. Like, you look these people in the eye, they see the picture of my family on my flyer, and they know I'm telling the truth. I mean, I put my address, I give them my phone number and my cards. Like, you ever have a problem with me, come and see me. I'm telling you how it is, and I have put my money where my mouth is, and people just want ordinary citizens to start taking the lead because they know that the swamp is real.
Right. How can people find out more about you?
Mark for mnhouse.com. You can go MARK, the numeral for mnhouse.com, or MARKFOR MNHOUSE.com. Where I stand on the issues is all there. You can email me via the website. You can make a donation via the website. You can click on Stand with Mark to become a supporter, volunteer. Yeah, it's all pretty much right there. I also have a Twitter, which is Twitter's kind of dying, I think, at this level anyway. Facebook,
Too many bots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about the dynamics of this campaign, how it's going once you get past August 9th primary, what it looks like for you.
Campaign's going good. I mean, I have so much support and so many volunteers. I raised a lot. I think I raised close to $37,000. We should talk about that just briefly. My opponent has, I believe, $400 left in the bank if you include her debt. I've kept up with the Democrat in my district. I think he raised about $39K. So it's looking good. Our numbers are looking good for the primary. And I'm just gonna, I'm sitting here with my driver, ready to go knock more doors. I have other guys out right now knocking doors. As far as going into the general election, I feel like we're gonna win. I'm unafraid to have these debates. Like, I think my opponent's afraid to say anything about the Second Amendment. I'm not afraid to talk about this. We're gonna win this debate. We've got the vote from the conservatives. The swing voters are going to understand these issues, that taking guns away from law-abiding citizens isn't going to stop the criminals from getting them. When you have 500 million guns in this country, they're going to be there, and the criminals will always have access to these guns. And if you look at the cities and states with the most gun restrictions, they have the most gun violence. Like, I'm just unafraid, and I think I'm going to be able to draw in these these like Bernie Sanders type voters who are, tired of the political class and the corruption that's in our system. I feel like we're going to win, and win big.
Yeah, there's something about the Bernie Sanders faction that, like, if you had a Venn diagram, there's like a little overlap. And what that is not that we see the same solutions because these guys are socialists, but it's that there's something wrong with the political class. And the political class is out screwing you. And that's something we can unite on. And I do wonder sometimes if some of these people, some of these types would cross over, because if they see someone that's not part of the political class, someone that's being honest, they would respect that. Because the guy the Democrats got running is just a complete swamp rat. He's a union president with the local teachers union, right?
Yeah, indeed. And I do think you're right. I think those like Bernie Sanders type voters, I mean, they see the corruption, but they're seeing it, the corporate corruption and greed is the big message there. But I think you can, put the seed in their mind that start asking these questions, that it's not just these corporations, it's the government that lends itself to this happening. It's like government to a certain degree is available to the highest bidder. So having, we have to put that seed in their mind that, hey, maybe a smaller government is the path forward.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. So if the problem is this crony capitalism, right? The corporations, I mean, this is so obvious with the vaccines issue, right? Basically, pharmaceutical companies had the government doing all their bidding. They basically took tax dollars or newly printed money, bought up their product, right? And the salesman of the year is like the Tim Walz and the Joe Bidens of the world, right? Or Anthony Fauci. They didn't even have to pay these salesmen. Or maybe they did. Maybe they a little under the table kind of thing. So it's this unholy alliance with corporations and government. And so it's like our solution is less government, right? Power back to the people. Their solution is more government. And it's like, well, these are the same corrupt people, right? These guys aren't angels. So how's that the solution?
Yeah, the CDC and the FDA and these big pharmaceutical companies, it's a revolving door. It's basically they're one entity. Everyone can see this. I mean, all you have to do is look at the CEOs that become, big time players in the CDC and the FDA. And like, come on, Bernie Sanders voters. Pfizer was fined $2.3 billion. It was the biggest fine in criminal justice history, I believe, for lying on data, manipulating data, and bribing doctors on a drug, Bextra, that was killing, thousands of people. They knew it was killing people, but their profits outweighed whatever fine they were going to get. People need to start seeing that the government isn't helping; they're making it worse.
Yeah, speaking of revolving doors, the Treasury Department, the Fed, and Goldman Sachs, and there's a revolving door as well. What are you hearing at the door? Like, what is the top issue?
Inflation. Inflation.
Are you surprised by that, Jesse?
No, not at all. No, that's exactly what's going on. So
we have the answer for that. The Democrats don't. And, when you tell people you want to get rid of their, the taxation of Social Security benefits, give back the whole surplus and lower the state income tax across the board or abolish it. They love hearing that. And I would say the second issue is public safety. We have carjackings, like there was one in Stillwater, people's cars getting stolen out of their garage, catalytic converters. Public safety is a big one. Medical freedom, gets tossed in there a good percentage of the time. A lot of pro-lifers, but definitely the pocketbook right now.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Once again, how can they find you?
markformnhouse.com.
All right, Mark, thanks for joining us, and we'll probably have you back on after the primary.
All right, thanks a lot, Jake. You guys have an awesome day.
Awesome. So, speaking of vaccines, I'm going to take this headset off because I get so much feedback from that. Jesse, what's crazy is, are you tracking the definitions? Like, in this world that we live in, with this very dishonest media and obviously dishonest political class, they are literally changing definitions in front of our very own eyes. And I think a lot of people knew this, but was it late last year or earlier this year, the CDC changed the definition of vaccines. Dawson, pull up that graphic that I put there. It shows the lineage of definitions from the CDC. Not the headline there. Well, so that's the headline there by, I think it was the AP that's talking about the definition change. But go pull up that graph that shows the lineage of the changes to the CDC's definition of vaccines. And basically why they did this is because the vaccines didn't create immunity. Like, I think everyone's got to understand this at this point, right? That Anthony Fauci, the guy that couldn't possibly be vaccinated and boosted enough, got COVID, and he actually got COVID twice. So this BS that they told us at the beginning of the pandemic, or not the beginning of the pandemic, the beginning of the vaccine rollout, that this was going to create immunity, was just completely untrue, right? Let's not call it a lie because maybe the science developed and they didn't know, okay? I would almost argue they probably did know. But anyhow, because it didn't fit the narrative and they still want to call it vaccines, they changed the definition of vaccines. And we're going somewhere with this because I think a lot of you guys know this just happened with the recession. But do we have that graphic? Right. Oh, yeah, there you go. Pull it up.
These are experimental mRNA vaccines that are being used for COVID. So this is a new type of shot, and that's why they had to change the definition, because what they're putting in people's bodies now is not a vaccine.
Right. So here's the evolution of the definition. Pre-2015, this comes from a tweet off of Representative Thomas Massey's Twitter account. It's an injection of a killed or weakened infectious organism in order to prevent the disease, which is very commonly understood, right? Usually it's like this dormant, or what do they call it, a cold disease. They put it in you a little bit, and then your body learns how to fight that off. But the big key word here is underlined, prevent. So then from 2015 to 2021, the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce immunity to a specific disease. Then vaccination develops after September of 2021, the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce protection from a specific disease. So there's a reason they always call it the flu shot, not the flu vaccine, because there's no immunity to the flu. It just lessens the symptoms, right?
Right.
I never really questioned that. Now I kind of question that too, right? Newsweek actually interviewed me last year because they wanted a leading voice in Minnesota against the vaccine mandates. And of course, they didn't want to make it about the mandates. They wanted to make it about, this guy's anti-vax. And I never was, right? And they go, don't you think what you're saying and what you're doing is actually possibly going to hurt in the end because people will be more resistant to other vaccines? I said, listen, that's not on me. That's on them. Because they lied so bad and what the medical industrial complex did during COVID, because of all those lies and deception, it's on them that now more people are hesitant. I myself become more hesitant. I'm like, well, if they lied about this, what else are they lying about? Am I crazy on that, Jesse?
No, I'm on the same boat as you. These changing definitions for these new shots, it's unbelievable. And Dr. Fauci, you can find old videos of him talking about the flu, where he says, you do not need to get the flu shot if you catch the flu. You're developing a better immunity through catching it. Now things are different with COVID. I don't believe it. He's the one lying to us.
Exactly. So let's talk about recession. So yesterday's big news is that we had a second quarter of negative GDP growth. Now, I was an investment advisor before I got into this role in politics. Which, God, I kind of miss those days. Those were a lot easier. But, what's interesting is everyone in economics kind of understood that the recession is 2 negative periods of GDP growth. But all of a sudden, Biden's in office, and we can't possibly have a recession under Biden. So now they're all questioning what the definition of a recession is. And it's just like they're going to just keep changing these definitions on us. And I think going back to what Mark was saying is that people at the door, the voters, are kind of like waking up to this stuff. I mean, this still works to a degree on some people. Some people just literally don't question it enough, obviously. But more and more people are starting to question this, and when they're just not going to get away with it. The other thing that hits me is we're in a recession. Like, try doing commerce right now. Like, this studio, like, the reason we have a black background is we can't even build sets in a timely manner. It took forever to get this studio built. You can't find the help. You can't find the products. When you do find the products, it ain't coming until September, November. It's just everything about this economy, it's just a signal that things are really bad. And then on top of all that is you have rising prices, which really hurts the average consumer. And it's like, I don't give a crap if you change the definition. It's definitely bad for everybody. Everyone's going to understand that we're in a recession.
Right. They can change the definition of what a vaccine is. They can change the definition of what a recession is. They can change what a woman means, but we all know the truth. It doesn't change the truth, even if they're saying something else. So it's obvious that they're doing this to gaslight us, trying to change the narrative, but we understand what's going on. 2 GDP quarters going down. That's the definition of a GDP of a recession. So it's happening in front of our eyes.
All right. So going back to what Mark said, the issue he's seeing, and this is obviously the issue, and you'll see this at our state fair booth, is it's really the economy. It's rising prices. And so if you're driving around the Twin Cities, I don't know if you've seen this, but the Jensen Burke campaign have got some pretty good billboards. Why don't you pull up some of those pictures there, Dawson? I just from to and from my workplace. This one's off of Highway 36. So this one is eastbound on the Highway 36. And did I give you a second one? I got one off of 694. Oh, look at that zoom. Look at that fancy graphic. Oh, I didn't send you the other one. Okay, there's another one, 694 going westbound. I know these are even outside the Twin Cities, but they got some billboards in the Twin Cities. Excuse me. Go back up to that image. Okay. That's good. That's a damn good billboard, right? Because a lot of times people, they try putting too much messaging on a billboard. This is real simple. We're branding who they are, Jensen and Burke. Although it's interesting, Burke's on the left. Did you notice that? Like, why is
it's
Burke
a
on
little
left?
weird.
Yeah, because everyone reads left to right, right? You don't read prices gas lower. So it shouldn't be Jensen Burke.
Yep.
I like that thing. I like Burke as the main guy.
It'd be better that way.
Yeah. But anyhow, lower gas prices. You don't even need to explain it. What the Democrats are doing is creating higher gas prices. No doubt about it. But if you listen to Biden, right? If you listen to Biden, 2 months ago? Oh, we have nothing to do with gas price increases, right? It's not us. How dare you say that's us? And now he's tweeting out, well, we've had 6 continued weeks of gas prices dropping. Oh, that's you. Oh, I see how it goes. So you're not at fault for increasing gas prices, but you can claim the fall of gas prices. And by the way, listen, we are all cheering on lower gas prices, right? Because, the Republican establishment's like, yes, keep those gas prices high. We want to win this election because that's all we care about. Most people want these gas prices to come down, especially in the summer. Here's the deal. It's still like, $4.19 a gallon? What is it, Jesse?
Right. It's insane. And we have Biden over in Saudi Arabia begging them for oil. They're not willing to do it. They don't want to deal with Joe. So it's terrible what's going on. Joe Biden is so incompetent, and look at what he's doing to our country.
But here's my point is that even if it's down to $4.19, like I filled up my tank of gas the other day, it was like $80. Like, dude, that is not good. Like, it was really bad for the first time in my life filling a gas tank for over $100, or I should say my gas tank, because I think it's 23 gallons in the F-150. But I mean, still at like $80 a fill up, that's not good. Like, you can't, because what was the price of gas 2 years ago? Like in the $2 range. So it's pretty much doubled. Mm-hmm. So it comes down like 10, 15%, and you're like cheering. Like, this is something great. I mean, it's definitely in the right direction. But I think in one of our videos we talked about this. If gas prices go back down to the levels they were before, we have a real problem. It means economic activity has really, really shrunk. Because the reason gas prices are so high is they printed trillions of dollars out of thin air. Joe Biden, like right when he took office, had this big, what the hell do they call that thing? They always have these creative names. What is that? You know what I'm talking about, right? His big signature bill. What's that?
An executive order? I don't know.
No, his big signature bill.
Build Back Better.
Yeah, Build Back Better. I don't know why. Why did I forget that? Maybe because it's not Building Back Better.
Yep.
So he's got like this big infrastructure plan, all that kind of stuff, and it's like $3.5 trillion. And they want to just print this money. And they printed a lot of money, plus all the stimulus that he gave out during his first time in office. Or his first year in office. They just print trillions of dollars out thin air. Excuse me. That ends up increasing the price of gas and food and everything else.
And let's remember, we had energy independence under Trump. We've lost that under Joe Biden because he's afraid of drilling. He's afraid of America doing our own energy. And it's unfortunate. We have the oil. We don't have to be dealing with the Middle East, but Joe Biden's forcing it.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I don't know if we were completely energy independent, but we had a surplus, which I don't think has existed for a very long time, if ever. But we had actually oil and certainly natural gas energy surplus. But you remember, like back in February, they were blaming all the gas price increases on Putin and what's going on in Ukraine. Right. And it's like, but now, I mean, that war's still going on, right? But somehow you have something to do with it. It's absolutely insane.
Yep.
Okay. Excuse me.
We have a comment here, Jake.
Oh, sure.
From first of all, we have Nathan Wiesenberg on here. Big ice cream cone.
America.
Yep. But Tim Davis says, just do the opposite of what the government tells you to do. They live with a different system that protects their corruption and destroys our lives. We have to stop pretending Biden's goal is to make America better. It all makes sense if you look at it like he's selling us out. So true.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a great point. And I was chatting with somebody yesterday. They're like, the big goal is actually to destroy America. And I'm puzzled on this one. And Jesse, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Is their goal to destroy America as we know it, or are they just so incompetent? Because there's this old line, don't assume malice where incompetence exists, right? Mm-hmm. Certainly when I think about the Fed, I think the Fed is just a bunch of academics. So they literally think that they could tweak the economy and it will work. And so when it comes to Biden, he just literally bought into this stupid shit, these stupid policies, and thinks it might work. I mean, he might think that it literally will build back better. But there's another side to it. Maybe it's nefarious. What say you?
You know, that's a tough one to say. Most politicians, I would say, nefarious. But when we're talking about Joe Biden, I just read incompetent all across his face. I can't imagine that he's the one with a big crystal ball in the background running things and knows exactly what he's doing. No, I don't think so. I think that he's just incompetent. I think he shouldn't be president, and it's unfortunate what's going on.
All right. Let's talk about, speaking of presidents, it's a good time to do the weekly Trump hour here with with Jesse, our MAGA guy. So what's the updates on Trump? I thought this guy was going to be running for office.
Well, big news. Donald Trump is coming to Wisconsin next Friday. I'm sure there's going to be lots of people who are going to that. You know I'm going to be there. How could I ever miss that? So,
and is that on what day is that on Thursday or Friday?
I believe it's on Friday at 8 a.m. Lineup starts.
Okay,
in Waukesha.
we got to go live. We got to go live with you. Will you be live with us?
You know, I think we could work that out. Absolutely.
All right, and it's just out of Milwaukee. That's where he's going to be at?
Yep.
What's he going to say at that rally?
You know, he's going to be there endorsing Tim Michels or Mitchells. I'm not sure who it is, but Tim Michels for governor in Wisconsin. I'm seeing the establishment is getting behind his opponent, including Ted Cruz, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley. So we see with the establishment's doing. Donald Trump has his own guy. I'm sure if I was in Wisconsin, that would be my guy too then. But so I'm interested in seeing what goes on there. And we actually have a clip, Dawson, of Trump speaking in Washington, D.C. This was a video and speech that Fox News did not cover when they absolutely should have. This is the first time that Trump was back in D.C. since leaving office. So if you want to roll that tape, it's extremely interesting.
If I renounced my beliefs, and if I agreed to stay silent, and if I stayed home and took it easy, if I announced that I was not going to run any longer for political office, the persecution of Donald Trump would immediately stop. You know that, right? Immediately stop. They would go on to the next victim. But that's not what I do. I can't do that. I can't do that. But they're coming after me because I'm standing up for you. It's very simple. And I'm not doing this for me, because I had a very good and luxurious life before entering the wonderful world of politics. I'm doing it for you, and it's my honor to do it. I will tell you, it's my honor.
Well,
now tell me, does that sound like Donald Trump is running for president or not? I'm ready to go. He just inspired me right there. That sends some electricity through my body seeing that.
All right, we are going to enter our final segment of the show called Stump the Trump. So this is where you can throw something at Jesse and he'll defend Trump all day long. So that was a fascinating video, I got to admit. That was,
absolutely.
In fact, and it is very accurate that he gave up a good life. But let me throw out the first Stump the Trump. He has wealth, okay? He lives in a very nice place in New York City, Trump Towers, right? He's got Mar-a-Lago, right? No doubt, really nice. But the White House, and you have Air Force One, and you have Secret Service detail, and you get treated basically like a king as president. Come on, you got a better life as president with that, right?
Maybe it's a lot of stress though, and it's a big responsibility, and of course, like Trump said, it's a big honor, and you have to take it seriously. You have to be ready any moment of the day if you're going to be president. Obviously, Joe Biden hasn't gotten that memo, but Donald Trump, you know, the guy that sleeps 3-4 hours a night, he's always awake and he's always ready to go. And what he was saying was completely accurate there, that if he wanted to, he could just walk away and then they would move on. The media would find the next target. But that's not what he's going to do. He is a fighter, and he has someone that has stood up for us. He's really the only president that I've ever seen that has done this. And it's such a unique situation that I don't know how we can do anything but put Trump up again in 2024.
If you want to stump the Trump, make sure you comment either on YouTube if you're watching there, on Facebook, and Bridget will bring it up. That is a really good point that Trump makes here, is if he wasn't running again, I think this whole facade of like January 6th and all this other stuff goes away, because obviously he represents this power dynamic that they don't want. They want their protected class, their power, and Trump is a threat to that. And I see it very much just like what's happening with Action for Liberty. We have this bogus campaign finance complaint against us. These candidates that are very aligned with our liberty mission, they get attacked by the Republican Party. Their data gets cut off. This stuff doesn't happen if groups like us and candidates like them aren't a threat to their power. So Trump is 100% right about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And with what's going on, Donald Trump is probably the best candidate to be run in 2024, in my opinion. And also, they want to cancel him so bad.
You just said to be run. Why did you say it that way?
Well, I mean,
who's behind that?
Which Republican?
Oh, is he
the
a
best?
Is he a globalist?
No,
he's being
not.
run.
No, it's
I'm
all
just kidding.
Trump's choice.
All right, I thought that was an interesting choice of words there, Jesse.
Yep. But I was just meaning what candidate the party decides to run, and they want to cancel him so bad. They got him off Twitter, and he still can't go. He's still not leaving. They will do everything in their power to try to get him out of here. And it's not just him, it's us. They want to take us out. They want to take our freedom. And Trump is the symbol of being able to recapture the American freedom.
All right. If he gets reelected, which I think one could argue he's got a good chance of getting reelected against this bozo in the office, what's the second term look like? Because I got to be honest, the way his first term ended was kind of bad, like printing all this money, putting Anthony Fauci in front of us, passing huge, some of the largest bills ever. Budget deficit grew tremendously. What does the future look like?
His second term will mainly be making America great again. That's exactly what we need to do. Energy independence, trade, taking on China. He was always willing to say that this was the China virus, that it came from the Wuhan lab. He was never afraid to admit the truth. He always stood up for us in these negotiations. I think that it's mainly going to be undoing everything that Joe Biden just did. If we're going to make America great again, we got to have the guy who says it. And nobody else is going to do it but Donald Trump.
Okay, well, fascinating. And, of course, America's not going great right now, so he could just reuse the damn term or the damn phrase, make America great again. All right, we got to sign off. It's getting
all righty, one more thing.
Okay,
Dawson, pull up that other graphic. So I know everybody can't wait to see Donald Trump in Wisconsin, but if you just can't wait, Alex Jones has a documentary that is being released today in 2 spots in Minnesota. I know Elk River and one other place. Google Alex's War, and you'll be able to see where you can watch the movie for yourself. I know that Alex Jones, he isn't the one that made it, but he supports it. He said that it's well done, and it's going to be an interesting documentary to learn more about what he's been doing, because before Trump was canceled, it was Alex Jones and InfoWars, and we live in an info war. It is an info war, and Alex's War should explain it all.
Oh, they got it at the theater near me at 150. So I don't know anything about this.
You know, I only heard of it because I saw Alex Jones talking about something on it. But I don't know what it's going to be like either, but I'm sure that it's going to be interesting, and it's nice to see that they can't cancel that man.
Well, it's fascinating. Okay, well, that was definitely a neat addition. I wasn't expecting that. All right, we're going to sign off, guys. Thanks for tuning in this week, and we should be back next week. And then eventually we're going to develop this show into something a little bit bigger. But we're really new at the studio, so we're just testing a lot of things out. And, you know, like, geez, this thing was giving me so much feedback. So we still got some kinks to work out. We actually were going to be on a little sooner because, you know, we stream on Facebook and YouTube. And I swear to God, Facebook always is messing with us. So, yeah, we got a lot of kinks to work out, but eventually we're going to bring show to you every week. I think probably a couple times a week at a similar hour But I'd love to hear your feedback, what you think of this dynamic going back and forth with Jesse and Bridget, and I guess we'll give Dawson some credit too. So please write in the comments here, or feel free to email us at jake@actionforliberty.com. Thank you very much.